This is the story of four men named Dan McGurk. It is also the story of transportation in America, one chapter of which opens here beside a new modern highway.
Well, I guess you all know why we're here. We wanted to invite everyone, but young Dan wouldn't hear to it. He said he just wanted you guys, the men who helped him do it. Well, you know the McGurks. They usually get their own way. Well, maybe they've earned it. This country sure wasn't what it is today before the McGurks took a hand.
When the first McGurk came over, that would be old Dan, he's thinking. 1776. Just in time to fight the revolution. That wasn't literally true, of course. He was only a year old at the time. But all the McGurks were fighting men. They fought the wilderness, other folks, and when there was no one else to fight, they'd fight each other.
Oh, thunderation. Get up. Come on. Come on. Get up. Get up. Get up there. Come on.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is plumb silly.
What's plumb silly?
I'm going back to the canal. There you just walk along a towpath and the horses pull it easy.
Yeah, but where does it get you? You can only go where the canal goes.
Well, it don't look like you're going much anyplace, stuck here in the mud.
Oh, blast it here. Take these reins and I'll lift it out.
Oh, I'll lift it out. But just the same, you can't stop progress. Your roads just ain't good enough no more.
All right, then we'll make them better. Come on, get up there! Get up there! Get out of there! Come on, get up! Get out there! Come on!
Like old Dan said, they made their roads better. They tried corduroy and plank roads. They spread gravel, and some they surfaced with a covering named for the Scotchman who invented it, McAdam. But Dan Jr. went back to his canal. For maybe 30 years, these men made waterways were the main channels of commerce within their territories. Then, about the time hard-surfaced roads had begun seriously to challenge the canals, a new form of transportation arose to threaten them both. And now, the third McGurk wanted to be a part of it.
Why shouldn't the lad go to work on a railroad if he wants to?
Now you keep out of
He
this.
don't want to be half horse and half alligator all his life.
Can I say something? No. I tell you, railroads are again nature. Running over farm animals, killing people. Well, no more than getting drowned. But trains go farther and faster. And look at all the country they're opening up west of the Alleghenies. Oh, don't you see, Pa? I want to be part of it.
Might as well let him go. He'll go anyway.
They're gonna ruin the canals. And no son of mine.
Oh, fiddlesticks. You remember what you told me once? You can't stop progress, you said. And you was right. There's nothing about a canal that's bigger than people no more than there is about a railroad or a pike. Whatever will do the most good for the most people. That's it. So don't go tearing down the railroads. Just make the canals better.
These were the first three Dan McGurks. And they are very much in the mind of the fourth Dan McGurk as he sits here today on the carryall.
And so before the unveiling, we're going to call on him for a speech. One of the greatest guys that you or I or anybody will ever know. And even though he's around 60 years old, he still is and always will be young Dan McGurk.
Thank you, boys. That makes me feel good. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for coming, all of you. Now, there's only one thing that'll make this any better, and that's if my great-granddaddy could only be here. He was quite a character. Old Dan was a stogie man. He drove the Wilderness Road. And when his son left to go on the canal, the old man had a fit. And when his son, my dad, left the canal to work on the railroads, I tell you, Granddad would have cut him off with a shilling, if he'd have had the shilling. We McGurks just seem to be transportation men one way or another. First a turnpike man, second a canal man, third a railroader, and me, I seem to be a throwback to the first one, a road builder. Each to the age he lives in, I guess. The year I was born, a man named Winton made his first automobile. It's easy enough to see what the automobile means to us. We all have one. It touches us directly. On the other hand, trucks and trailers mean a lot more to us, really, but because they don't touch most of us so directly, we're apt to forget that they bring us part of every material thing we have, including the automobile that goes to make up our way of life, like the railroads. It's the freight that keeps most of them going, not the passenger business. Now, the line my dad worked on, 91 cents out of every dollar they took in came from freight. Only 9 cents came from passengers. That's how important the movement of material is to everybody. That's why trucks and trailers are so important. They give to materials for us what the auto gives to us personally. More flexible, more convenient, and usually more economical transportation. And that's why, the same as it's important to all the people that railroads carry freight trains, it's important to all the people that highways carry trucks. So the next time you have to wait for a freight train, don't cuss the freight train. It's working for you. The same when you're slowed up behind a truck. Don't cuss the truck. Just ask yourself what it's doing there. It isn't there just for the fun of it. Nobody goes for a ride in a truck and a trailer just for the fun of it. There's work to be done. That's why the truck is on the road. And the work it's doing is far more important to you than a few minutes delay. Now, another thing. As a road builder, it always gripes me when anybody says the trucks are ruining our roads. Now, that's a fine bunch of malarkey.
You tell them, young Dan.
I do, every chance I get. I ask them what they think the answer is. Take the trucks off the highways? Well, that's what they're half thinking. Only they'd feel foolish saying it. Besides, some of our worst roads, trucks never get on. So they're hardly to blame for them. Well, make the trucks pay for the damage they do. That sounds like a safe answer. The only trouble with it is they already do. They pay their share of road wear and a lot more. The chances are they're paying part of the share of the fellow that's doing the griping. Of course, the real answer is to build better roads. That's not for the sake of the trucks. That's for the sake of every man, woman, and child that lives under a roof, eats food, and wears clothes. Build better roads. Now, let's take a look at the roads we've got. Just take a look at that one right over there. I know it's hard for most people to realize that roads wear out, whether they're used or not. But I'd like to present every person interested with a slab of pavement, just enough to show them. And I'd inscribe on that pavement what makes it wear out. There are 5 things: soil, weather, construction, maintenance, and last, traffic. Now then, take them one at a time. Soil. Few people stop to think that the places we need the roads the most, the soil may be the least able to support them. Mountain and desert lands usually provide a solid footing, but few people live such places. Traffic is not heavy, as it is in the arable regions. But the lighter soils don't make the best subgrade for highways. They have to be properly prepared. Then, there's the weather. Whatever the weather, you know your roads are right out in it. Winter is a road killer, but so is summer. Rain, snow, sleet, they're all hard on roads. Frost widens the cracks and chips the pavement. And the drought of summer, heat melts joint sealer, heaves concrete, wrinkles asphalt, and breaks up surfaces. And construction. At least we know as road builders how poor design, bad materials, shortcuts, and the ever-present human error will shorten the life of highways no matter what the traffic is. And then neglect and imperfect maintenance. Proper maintenance should be both preventative medicine and cure treatment. Too seldom do our roads get enough of either one. And all this before we get to traffic. Of course, traffic has its effect. But if the road is properly built and properly maintained for the type of traffic it is to carry, it'll last indefinitely. By properly built, I mean subgrade properly prepared. Any bad subsoil conditions corrected. A good base laid and the right surface over it. That road will do all right. Naturally, weight makes a difference, but we mustn't lose sight of the fact that it's not gross weight, but axle load weight that counts. Now, you take that automobile. The gross weight is divided among 4 tires. Whereas this big, commodious truck trailer, while it carries considerable more weight, distributes that weight among 14 tires, and in many cases as many as 18 tires, dividing up the load on the pavement that much more. As our various state laws permit the hauling of heavier loads, it's based on the use of more tires. As the fella says, if the tires can take it, the road can. That is, if it's built the way we have a right to expect our roads to be built today.
We need more and better roads, all right. We need them for our way of life, just as much as we need the trucks. It's not a question of motor trucks versus any other form of transportation. It's trucks and all other forms of transportation.
Railroads and waterways can only run certain places. Airlines can land only certain places. And to get the freight to them or from them to the people, we have to have roads, and we have to have trucks. There are 25,000 communities in this country that have no other freight connection with the rest of the world. I don't mean only for them, I mean every place. Take even Chicago. It's got 40-some railroads, 30-some freight airlines. It has lake, river, and canal transportation. But if no truck moved in Chicago for 1 week, even for 3 days, the city would be paralyzed. To cite one simple example, here is a familiar sight, not only in Chicago, but on street corners and crossroads all over our land. Now, the reason you can drive confidently up to any one of them is a tank truck like this. Oil and gasoline is shipped to Chicago different ways, including railroads and barges, but you never saw a freight train stop at this corner. You never saw a barge float up Halstead Street. You bet not. And think what it would cost if either of them did. Well, who could afford the gasoline? It's the same with everything we have today. Somewhere along the line, from raw material to manufacturer to us, everything we buy is handled by truck. And many things we wouldn't have at all, including automobiles and the roads they run on, if it weren't for trucks. We need highways and trucks more today than ever before for national defense. Now, you know what a few bombs could do to a railroad, but trucks, regardless of bombs, can always find other routes to get through. I tell you
The time has come when we have to get a new conception of our roads and trucking. Now, we built our first hard roads to get the farmer out of the mud. We built better roads for the wider use of automobiles. Well, now it's time to build them still better for the growing number of vehicles of all kinds, including trucks. Now, where do we get money to build roads? Out of tax money. And where do we get tax money? Well, a lot of it comes directly or indirectly out of industry. No industry, no business. No business, no job. Hence, no money for taxes. It's just that simple. Now, suppose you lived in the state of Washington. Lumber is one of the biggest industries there. Better roads to handle lumber better and cheaper will benefit everybody in the state. Now, the same goes for sections where the big thing is steel or cement or petroleum or any other of these great industries. Whatever helps industry helps everybody. If we build roads for trucks as well as for automobiles, everybody will benefit.
Like more bypasses around cities and turnout lanes on hills to let motorists pass. More arterial streets and highways with heavier load-carrying capacity per wheel on the highway. We need old highways widened and new highways built. Every year, 25,000 miles of new cars are added to the highways we already have, to say nothing of the new trucks and trailers. We need traffic experts to figure out greater highway capacity, and engineers must devote more study to soil conditions on which they have to build. Now let's stop sniping at the industry that is putting up 10 times its share of the money that is making our better roads possible. Let's stop shooting at Santa Claus. And above all, let's work toward more uniform regulations of trucks in the different states, or else adopt some fair plan of reciprocity between the states. I know this is going to be hard to believe, but listen to this. Now, here is a truck trailer registered in New York. It conforms to all the length, width, height, size, and weight regulations of the Interstate Commerce Commission. It has paid all its taxes and fees to operate in the state, including the ICC permit to operate in any state. But because its run will take it part of the time into other states, it has paid license fees to each of those states, too. Now, let's take a hypothetical example. Now, suppose you live in Iowa, and suppose the shoes you're wearing are made in New York. The Iowa wholesaler who supplies your shoe merchant sends his order to New York, a truck trailer load. Now, if you were in New York and wanted to drive your car home to Iowa, all you'd need to comply with all laws en route would be your driver's license and automobile plates.
But look what happens to the truck that's bringing your shoes. New York says the truck and trailer with load can have a gross weight up to 76,500 pounds. Let's assume that the trucker thinks that's all there is to it and is ready to start out. Those are the trade barriers that come up the moment you want something brought to you from another state by truck. Anyway, your truck starts out as far as the first state line, New Jersey. They have a law that the gross weight can't be over 60,000 pounds. So we have to drop 16,500 pounds, almost 1/4 of our load before we go any further. Now we can go again. We reach the next state line. Now this is more like it. Pennsylvania has the same gross weight limit, 60,000 pounds. So we can keep right on going. As far as the Ohio state line. Uh-oh, don't tell me, let me guess. We've got to drop weight again. No, by jingo. We could put 18,000 pounds back on. That is, we could if we had a second truck following along, picking up what we have had to drop in New Jersey. But when we get to Indiana, we lose 15,600 of the pounds that we gained in Ohio. We're back down to 62.4. Maybe we'll do better in Illinois. Nope, we're even worse off. We lose 3,400 pounds more. Now we're down to 59,000. So you see, to start from New York with a load that is legal all the way, we'd have to leave more than a fourth of our gross weight along the way, or using 4 trucks to do the work of 3. Just think of the waste of rubber, of gasoline, and equipment. Well, anyway, we go on. And here we are at your state of Iowa. Figures change from 59,000 pounds to 65,500 pounds. In other words, we could put back 6,500 pounds if we had them to put back. Meanwhile, just think of it. In the course of our journey from New York to Iowa over comparable highways, the inconsistency of state laws governing gross weight has resulted in the loss of 17,500 pounds of our original load.
Well, we finally made it. We brought you your shoes. Still cheaper than any other way. But think how much less they could have cost you if the trucks were permitted to operate with the efficiency that they're capable of. And you think that was a tough run? It's one of the simplest. Altogether, there are more than 300 different restrictions at the different state lines. And here's one. On US 23, a north and south highway built under government supervision and approved as having met uniform specifications throughout, Michigan allows a maximum gross vehicle weight of 120,000 pounds. But Ohio, on the same road, cuts the weight to 78,000, almost in half. And when you get to Kentucky, still on the same highway, the weight is again cut to 42,000 pounds, just about a third of the amount you could start out with in Michigan. 3 trucks to do the job of 1. Now, does that make any sense? Now, not all of these are expensive in money. Some have little more than nuisance value. But they are expensive in time, and they do make bottlenecks in our leading form of transportation, because trucks haul 3 times as much as all other systems put together. Fortunately, a lot of state legislators are looking at these facts and are working to correct the situation. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little tired of these guys that can't see further than their nose, complaining about the trucks on the road. I'd rather meet a truck any day than a lot of automobile drivers. You know what a truck driver is going to do. The next time you come up behind one, notice how he's rolling along, straight as a string, well on his side of the road, even on the curves. Then watch the next motorist. You'll see plenty of them weaving back and forth over that center line, driving in both lanes at once, especially on the curves. Now watch this truck driver. He's signaling us that the road ahead is clear so we can pass. Now, how many automobile drivers do that for you?
It all comes back to the 2 things I said. We need the roads and we need the trucks. We need better roads to catch up and keep pace with the greatly increased motor vehicle production. Since the automobile came into general use following World War I, highway users have paid nearly $40 billion in state highway use taxes alone. Do you know how much $40 billion is? That's 40,000 millions in gasoline taxes, registration fees, and special levies. And in addition, they have paid federal excise taxes of nearly $20 billion more in these same years. These are the federal taxes on vehicles, fuel, lubricants, and equipment. $60 billion in taxes not paid by any other form of transportation. Only 17% of America's motor vehicles are trucks. Yet they pay 33% of all automotive taxes. The average annual taxes per truck vary with the size, its weight, and its use, but exceeds $3,000 per vehicle per year in some cases. Nearly 70 times the tax on an average passenger car. Like I said, trucks more than pay their share of the cost of building and maintaining our roads. But I'm not discouraged. You know why? My granddaddy said it a long time ago. You can't stop progress. Oh, you can slow it up a little now and then, but when enough people get the straight of it, things begin to move. And in this case, they move by highway. Thank you, boys, for coming out here.
Thank you, young Dan McGurk. And now for the unveiling. At young Dan's request, we kept the sign simple. But, well, here it is. From now on, this great highway will be known as McGurk Way.
Looks to me like it's also the American way. You can't stop progress.